What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode. We're going to start calling Make America Think Again. We're going to start calling it Mad Mondays. I think that's a catchy phrase. Let us know where you're from, guys. Drop your locations. I know we got a lot of people from New Jersey that watch. And welcome, Billy. I'm so excited to be able to talk to you.
How are you, Suni? Thank you for having me on.
I'm great, man. I can't complain. My mic is messed up. I can hear my seat in my mic. I don't need people hearing me moving around.
That means the mic works well then, at least.
Facts. Okay, we got New Jersey here. Hey. Who else is in the house? Ohio, Missouri.
Oh, okay. Texas. I see the comments now. Okay.
What is it? Massachusetts? Okay. I like that. Mad Mondays. Guys, do me a favor before we get too far into the show. I need everybody to share. This should be at least 700-800 people. We have over 85K people following us. Let's get it up there. Everybody, count of three. 1, 2, 3. Share. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the thumb up. The ratio should match the people watching. It shouldn't be less likes than viewers. This is the only way we get our message out. Hold on, I need this comment. Delaware, where Biden has done nothing for almost 50 years. You need a round of applause.
Well, that sounds a lot like the congressman I'm going up against. Almost 40 years and he's done nothing.
Nothing. I heard you talk about him. I'm like, wow, I can't believe they're still voting him in there. He ain't did squat. It's crazy. Hello. The Mid-Michigan. Nice state. Everybody shared. All right, guys. Thank you for sharing. Make sure, like I said, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell so you don't ever miss the live. And let's get into Mad Mondays. So I want you to introduce yourself because you will give a better introduction than I could.
All right. So hello, everybody at Primetime Patriots. My name is Billy Prempeh. I'm from Paterson, New Jersey, and I'm the congressional candidate running for Congress with the GOP in the New Jersey 9th Congressional District. I ran a race in 2020 where we did exceptionally well. For someone who's ran in a heavily blue district, we broke a record here. We shifted about 33,000 votes to the Republican side. We did this in 7 months. No funding, no support. We have support now, thank God, but with no support, no nothing, no backing from any of the GOP parties. This was done in a matter of only 7 months where we were able to do this. And the person I've been going up against, he's been in office for well over 25 years in Congress, over 40 years in control of my city of Paterson. Paterson's Paterson is an inner city, and it's been plagued with violence, it's been plagued with all kinds of corruption for many, many years. But it's no different than any other typical Democrat-ran cities where these problems are pretty frequent. I've been dealing with this my entire life, and I've lived in Paterson my entire life, and I just decided to get involved in this race and bring some new ideas to the table because who we've had no longer represents us. He's completely left us to the wayside. He's in politics primarily for the money. His son's a multi-million-dollar lobbyist in D.C. He's only out there for special interests. Our own county of Passaic County fired his son because he was incompetent of even doing his own job. All right. So, wow. and despite the fact that this guy has so much control of over the district, he literally does nothing. He's a photo op champion. And I just want to get this guy out of office because there's way too many people in my community getting shot and killed. Like literally 2 days ago, we had someone who was shot 9 times, just dumped right in the hospital. Nobody had any idea who this person was. And this stuff happens literally every single day. He's focusing all of his attention on Donald Trump and the previous administration, rather than actually focusing on all the issues that are happening here. He did this in 2020. He did this now. And now that, and even before Trump was even here, he was always diverting the attention to other things rather than putting the spotlight directly on himself. But then a guy like me comes out of nowhere who's not afraid, who doesn't care about the games these politicians play, and I'm going to bring the fight directly to him. So all of 2020, he ducked and dodged. He hid. He did everything in his power to avoid me. He doesn't want to debate me. He doesn't want to answer any of the real questions. He'll go around telling people that Black Lives Matter, yet he does absolutely nothing for the inner city community, which is predominantly Black. Right? He wants to defund our police. He wants to keep our communities less safe. And he's just going around pandering. He's so out of touch now that he is aligning himself with the radical the radical squad we've got here in DC with Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and all of those likes, where he's just kind of trying to stick around and he's just kind of following along with what the progressives want. I honestly don't even believe he wants the things that he says or that he talks about. He's just kind of trying to stay relevant within the community. But even the Democratic Party is starting to fracture, and some of them are starting to see through his nonsense as well too. Because I believe the only way we were able to shift those 30,000 votes was with some of the Democrats actually leaving and coming over in our direction. Now, some of them were unaffiliated as well too, but for the most part, people are fed up with this guy across the board. Most people just go straight down because it's muscle memory and Democrat, we're going to go that way. But the people don't, a lot of them are sick and tired of it. Most of them didn't even want to come out last year until they met me. But the more unfortunate thing and the more upsetting thing is in my district, there's little to no in fact, there's no Republican party in the 9th district. Essentially, the Republican Party that's been out here is weak. I'm practically rebuilding the entire Republican Party in the 9th district by myself. Wow. They're focused on other things. They're all focused on special interests. They're not really trying to do the things that matter, because the way New Jersey is set up, most of our population are in the inner cities. And I would talk specifically about my county here. They are absolutely I would even say they're terrified of coming into inner cities. They just don't want to do it because they're working hand in hand with the same politician I'm going up against. Our chairman, for example, really good friends with my opponent. Does nothing to actually support the party, but will go out, take donations from the opposing party, good friends with his son. So it's all one giant swamp machine. And I knew that when I ran my race last year in 2020, I ran it very naive at first. I was listening to some of these guys and believing some of the things they were saying, and then I started to realize that this is all one big political game, and they really don't have the best interest of my community or my district at heart. So I'm gonna have to do this a different way. We're gonna have to run this race in the way that Donald Trump ran this race. He ran the race as a complete outsider. He was not someone that's supposed to come in here. I'm no politician. These guys have been in politics 20, 30, 40, God knows how long. Literally got in last year. I've been following politics for many years of my life, but I'm very passionate about this kind of stuff. I don't see anybody in the 9th district doing this. And my intention, more so than even just running for Congress, is I want other people outside in my district, across my state, across the country, that see me and see the things that I'm talking about and see what I'm trying to do, and realize that you don't have to be this suit and tie Ivy League kind of professional to get involved in your local government. Your local government needs you, and your Constitution was designed specifically for people like you. So if I can go in there and do this and it's working well, why is that? It's because the people are sick and tired of the politician. They're sick and tired of the politician. They need someone that's really dealing with the issues. And I don't know anybody who's dealing with any of the worst issues in the 9th district more than the people here in Patterson, for example, specifically here in the 4th ward where I live, where a lot of the biggest problems that are in our district, whether it be overtaxation, overdevelopment, violence, drugs, you name it, political corruption, you name it, any of these things. You see a lot of this stuff happening here in my city. And I've seen the very worst of it, okay? So living through this, I don't think there's anybody in this district that can go out and represent it in a way that is best than I can. Because I've seen the absolute worst. I've seen the best of what this district is capable of. And while some people have lost motivation and some people no longer want to come out and vote or feel like it's just not going to make any difference anymore, that's until they meet someone like me. And then they realize, you know what? We might actually have a shot this go around. And let me tell you, Basement Bill is extremely terrified. He's extremely terrified. He's not expecting some 6'2" black dude from the 4th ward with dreadlocks to come out of nowhere as a Republican and really hold his feet to the fire and have him run a legitimate race, because he hasn't ran a real race. The last time someone really gave him a run for his money was in 2016. Dr. Hector Castillo, he ran a race against him. And it was Dr. Castillo at a Trump rally early in January that convinced me to get involved in politics and run for office. We were at this Trump rally. He was the last person to really do quite well against Pascal. This is 2016. It could also be because Donald Trump was on the ticket. He had 65,000 votes. We shattered that, ended up with 98,000 in 7 months. So with seeing that, I said, you know what? There's definitely an opportunity to make some serious change here. Trump has really lit a fire in a lot of people. Even the people that don't like Trump and don't agree with him, one thing that they can all say for certain is like he's definitely got a lot more people to pay attention to politics, and a lot more people are focusing on the things that I mean, a lot more people are focused on the things that affect us on our daily lives that we've ignored. And now we've got no time but to focus on this kind of stuff. All the things that I wish to bring to the table is straightforward, very simple, very practical. I want to make things very practical, things very simple for a lot of the people in the United States. For example, I don't understand why we have politicians that are in office for 40 plus years, 20 plus years. You know, Nancy
Term
Pelosi.
limits.
You know, we
it
got.
all.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We need term limits. And I don't know if you've seen this not too long ago. And this was not my intention. Maybe it was, but probably it wasn't. At least it wasn't supposed to get to the degree that it did. But you should, if you go on my Facebook page, even on my Instagram, forget about it. It's on a different level. Some guy named Bill, you'll see there's a picture that I posted of my opponent, Bill Pascrell. If you've been following the race since 2020, we called him Basement Bill Pascrell because he stood in the basement, he hid in the basement, he didn't want to come out, didn't want to debate, didn't want to talk about anything, right? This year, we're calling him Low Energy Bill because there's a picture that someone took. I can't remember who it was, but somebody just randomly sent me. And I love my supporters because I know they're in the fight just as hard as I'm in the fight.
Yep.
And they really want to see change as much as I do because sometimes they'll send me really funny stuff or they'll give me really good information that can help the campaign. And someone just went into my inbox and sent me some pictures of Low Energy Bill completely knocked out. He fell asleep at an event in Lyndhurst. They had a train station unveiling that they were at, and this guy's in his car. I mean, in his chair, completely nodded out. Very unprofessional, you know. And I'm like, okay, you're falling asleep in front of all these people. And then the thing that's funny is a newspaper organization that put the picture up, they try to make it like, oh, he's not actually sleeping. That guy is clearly sleeping. And the thing that's funny in those comments, people sent more pictures at another train station event in Secaucus, where guess what he's doing? He's sleeping in his chair. So the guy has no idea why he's even here anymore. Every time, and I implore all of you, go and watch his videos, whether it's a news interview, whether it's an interview like this. He could never in a million years do what you and I are doing right now, having a straight up normal dialogue off the cuff. He's got to have a script every single time in front of his face. He's got to have a script. So that's his biggest fear. When we did get a chance to debate, it was a Jewish Federation debate. The Jewish Federation of New Jersey put together a structured, I would call it structured discussion. I wouldn't really call it a debate, where the questions were kind of all predetermined questions. All the questions seemed as if they were written by him. You know, they were all written in ways to say if it was answered by a Democrat, it would make him look like, you know, the greatest thing since sliced bread. While if a Republican answered this with a conservative answer, it would make him look like an insane, far right, off the wall, QAnon conspiracy, you know, whatever, you know. And every single one of his questions were nonsense. Every single one of his questions were nonsense. Cut right through all those questions. And even when I was answering those questions, he wasn't even there to face them. They let him go first and then let him go after. And I'm like, this is nonsense. This guy is hiding at most. I believe if you're going to go and represent the people, right? If you're going to go out and you're going to represent the people, you got to be very accessible. For example, I got two devices. One personal phone, political phone. Anybody, literally anybody could reach me. My phone number is on my website. I'm surprised when people say, like, why is your phone number on your website? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm naive, but I believe it should be on your website. If you're gonna
you're right. The people should have access to the representatives.
Right. You call this guy's office, he doesn't answer his own email. Okay. He doesn't answer his own email. He doesn't answer his own phone. It's like you call and you're going through like an entire crucible of people you got to deal with before you get to him. You know, and I believe if you're going to represent the people, you have to be accessible. You have to be practical. Okay, we shouldn't make government so complicated. It's not that complicated. All right. The simple and the truth is, these people are experts at overcomplication. They make things complicated for the average person. So the average person says, "Oh, I don't even want to get involved." It's like stocks, for example. Now it's quite simple. Anybody can figure it out with Robinhood, but they'll say things like, oh, the market's bearish right now, or the market is bullish, or, you know, there's consolidation in the market. All this stuff could be explained in very, very simple terms, but they use words to make it sound complicated, so the common man never understands, right?
Facts.
Politics shouldn't be that way. The Constitution was written very simple, so everything else should be carried out in the exact same way. So I know I went a little bit long-winded, but that's my introduction. Billy Prempeh, pleasure to meet you all.
No, we need that energy. I specifically turned this into a platform where I want to talk to the people running.
Okay.
Because I'm going to ask the hard questions. If I see you said something in public and it doesn't line up with the party, not even the party, because I think that's an issue for us too.
Yes.
But just conservative morals, I'm calling you out. I have no problem doing that. So it's good that we're having these conversations, and it's good that you're telling people what's actually going on in places like Paterson, New Jersey. Because a lot of folks think that this stuff is fake. You know, when we start talking about Democrat-ran cities, they're like, but it's a Republican state.
You know, something that's funny is like I kind of want to bring something up too. Is like, and I feel the problem may be much deeper than just Democrats and stuff, right? For example, like even in my own city, right? Several of the council people, right? I'm not going to reveal any of their names because there's like all kinds of going on and stuff. They're all Democrats and they all like attack each other. It's insane. It's insane. But some of them, you know, have approached me like privately and will say, hey man, like, you know, I actually like a lot of the stuff you're saying, you know, and I'm like, oh, well then let's talk. Whoa, I can't, because, you know, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't care if we're across the board or we're together. But what I've realized though is it may not even be so much Republican Democrat going on in Patterson as the issue, because there's some Democrats who I listen to them talk and I'm like, you sound pretty Republican, dude.
Yes.
You know, why are you saying what you're saying? You sound really pretty Republican. But what I feel is going on though is like there's something going on within at least in Patterson that I've seen. And the reason why a lot of my focus is on Patterson, and some people say that a lot, like, well, you got about 30 something cities in your district. Why are you only focusing on Patterson? Well, there's several reasons. One, I live in Patterson. Two, Patterson has the highest crime, highest poverty, and it's literally got a large bulk of the problems in the district. It's also the largest voting block. The largest amount of people are in this area. So these are the people that are going to need, in my opinion, the most focus, because what a lot of the Republicans, and I'll get back to the council thing. One thing I forgot, I'm a very circular thinker, so I can have like about 5 topics at once. But one of the things that I've noticed is that actually let me finish the council topic first. But
okay,
a lot of these people, kind of they agree with the things that I say when we speak about things in private. However, it feels as if there's someone inside of the city hall or someone within the establishment in the Democratic Party, whether it be in Passaic County, across the state, or even just within the city, that seems to be preventing the council people from fully doing their jobs and doing what needs to be done. I don't know if there's other people who have promised jobs or there's some kind of conflict of interest that's happening here, because a lot of the problems I see are practical and, in my opinion, very easy to resolve, but they just don't seem to get resolved. There seems to be a lot of political dancing, and there's something behind it. Now, here's one thing. People could say, oh, well, the problem is the mayor. Yeah, the mayor's a problem, but this kind of madness has been happening in Patterson for a long time. And you know something funny? My opponent used to be the mayor. 1997.
Wow.
Before that, right? So the thing is, one thing that's always been in common with this city, he's supposedly from the city, no one ever sees him, but you've been in control of this city the entire time. That's one thing that's been constant. No matter who's the mayor, no matter who's the no matter who's the mayor, no matter who's the councilman or councilwoman, you've always been the person that's in charge. And if we're going to fix our state, and this is something that I try to get through to all the Republicans, and it's whether they're cowards, they're punks, or more likely than not, they're working alongside this guy here, and that's why more likely than not. But I try and tell them the same thing. It's like, listen, I'm gonna go a little bit military here. I'm an Air Force guy, so and you believe you said you're an Air Force spouse as well, right? I'm a
spouse. Yep.
Okay, there you go. So, well, your husband will probably understand. It's like very tactical understanding, very basic, right? If the enemy, right? Let's say in the center of this city, right? Most of the enemy is here, right? You don't have the resources to completely take them down, right? Which is what's going on in my district, right? We don't, right? The idea with the Republican Party is we'll focus on all the outskirts, the outer fights, right? The suburbs and the corners, right? We'll win all those fights, right? But here's what happens. They're constantly in the fight for their lives every single election cycle, because what happens when the life of the people, when the life of the Democrats that are within the inner city does better, where do they go? Out of the city. Yeah. Right. So long as you deal with that issue, or you try and bring new, so long as you avoid bringing new ideas to this area, you're going to constantly fight those fights. So if you really want to win, you need to send a serious fighter in there. You need to send Rambo into the jungle. You guys don't got a Rambo right now. I'm going to be the Rambo. And if you're not going to back me up, then that makes you insignificant. Okay. Facts. Because I'm doing this for my community. I'm not doing this for special interests. I'm not doing this for my pockets. I'm doing this because this has happened for way too long, and I'm absolutely sick and tired of it. There's some people that'll call me all kinds of names. Oh, you're a Republican, you're an uncle this, you're an uncle that. And I'm like, well, what are you doing to fix the solution? Facts. What are you doing? You're going in the exact same direction for the past 40 years. It's the white man. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's white people struggling here too. What are you talking about? It's got nothing to do with that. You're going in the exact same direction. All right. Nobody's talking about this stuff. This is the stuff that people need to bring up. These are the things that really matter. Okay, and until what we got to understand is, like, even with me, right? There's people that like me and say, Bill, I love what you're talking about. You're the great guy. You're perfect for this, but I cannot win without you. At the end of the day, not only that, even when I win, I can't get the job done without you. If I'm saying, listen, we got to protect, we got to help our police, we got to actually cooperate with them, we got to stop all this no snitching nonsense and actually, like, really take care of our community. They can't get their job done. We can't get the criminals off the streets. We can't get the drugs off our streets unless we work together. Yep. Okay. And it's a team effort. So everybody has to be on the same page. Even something as simple as, like, yo, throw your trash out properly, which is something that happens ridiculously in Patterson. Something as simple as that. That's how you bring your community back together.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a ranter. Sorry about that. But yeah.
No, listen, we need this fire. It spreads. It's passion. We need that. Like you just said, we have establishment politicians, man. And I actually want to talk to you about Tim Scott. We'll get to that later in the show.
Tim Scott. I didn't. I'll be completely honest. So here's the thing about me. I'm trying to find the best way to, like, the best angle, because this is gonna piss some people off with what I'm about to say. I'm trying to find the most tactical angle to go about this. Me personally, I didn't watch the Tim Scott video. I have no idea what Tim Scott said. And the reason why I didn't watch it is for a few reasons. I'm the kind of person where I believe that if your ideas are good, your ideas should be able to stand on their own merit. The second your ideas require this to get your point across, you lost me.
Yes.
I don't make any of my discussions about skin or black or this or that, because in my opinion, it's just, I feel like there's a lot better ways to get your point across than that. And from the way people were making it seem, I know people were calling them slurs, were calling them this. I'm not certain what it was that he said, but he probably said something where it was like, hey, you know, blacks or this or that. And there was a couple of other people that were saying stuff like that. So I don't like to divide. Into these little groups of identities, right? So to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown of how Billy came here, right? My father is from Accra. My father's from Accra, Ghana. My mother is from Kumasi, Ghana, right? Came to the United States, came here. So I'm a first generation American. My parents are African, right? I don't identify and say, hey, I'm Ghanaian American or I'm African American. I'm an American, period. Right.
Yes.
And that's the way that I've looked at things. That's the way I was raised to look at things. Like, I've never been taught that you're inferior because you're black or because there's a white man trying to take you down. My parents were African, as black as can be. In fact, you know, a lot of the black kids made fun of us because we were African, but, you know, it's all good fun. Back in the day, you can make these kinds of jokes and it wasn't a big deal. Today, you'll have a lawsuit or God knows what, you know, but I never based my opinions on these kinds of things. And with Tim Scott's words, I'm assuming he didn't say anything wrong. What exactly did he say?
He didn't. Before we get into that, because everybody's asking, what are your plans for Patterson? How are we? I like Thomas Sowell's my favorite, and he has a quote that I'm starting to live by. Solutions don't exist, only trade-offs. And you mentioned a trade-off earlier. We look at all the outside, the outliers, but the core problem we don't fix, because the core problem, people leave that and they don't come back.
Right.
So what are your plans?
So there's a few things. So when people ask what are my plans, I'm running for an entire district. It's not just the city of Patterson. It's just that a lot of the focus comes there. So a few of the things that are going to be my primary focus moving into 2022 and going into Congress is, number one, term limits, school choice and apprenticeship programs, as well as term limits. Those are the three things. All right. And some kind of changes to police reform. I have a very different take on police reform than many people. When people talk about police reform, they're talking about defunding the police. My plan actually calls for more funding to the police. Well, people are saying that, you know, we should get rid of them and put it all community based. I have a program where the community and the police are actually forced to work together to actually get this done. This is a solution that many police officers that I've spoken to, I've spoken with them all across the state, and the response has been unanimous. It's a great idea. They love it. And they believe that the best way that any of these problems can get resolved is if the community works hand in hand with the people. The police also don't have a method to get rid of the bad apples. It's unfortunate because there's a lot of good cops, a lot of really, really good cops that want to get rid of the bad guy, but it's kind of difficult when you have all these different groups and organizations keeping these people in there. It's kind of difficult. There is no real chain or path to allow them to rid of these officers. The JARO bill will allow for that, and we're going to get into that in a second. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is let's talk with school choice, because I believe all the problems in our district, not even in our district, I'd say it in the country as a whole, because it's not just the 9th district, all of our issues will be resolved with proper education. If not proper education, at the very least, an opportunity for a career. Those are the two things that I think will absolutely change and radically shift the direction of our country, because if you've got a job, or forget about a job, if you've got a career, you not only take a sense of pride in what you do, but you're most likely going to stick around a lot longer doing that than you would be at Walgreens or Walmart or something, right?
Facts.
So in our schools, the biggest issues that we have is the education is not that good. We got people on the board of ed right now in Patterson, for example, right now making $250,000, while we've got the literacy rate, the passing rate of Hispanics and African Americans like 37% in our city. Yet these guys are making $250,000 a year. It's madness. This is exactly why people got to pay attention to get involved in their politics. So in our city, when I was growing up, we had programs like wood shop, metal shop. Some schools probably have had these programs. It's not impractical. However, at some point, a lot of these programs started to disappear in my city. So here's a solution. Our country's falling apart. Our infrastructure is going to need repairs, right? There's also a lot of people not falling into these career fields, right? The same with finance as well, too. The nursing industry, all these things, right? There's lots of businesses across the United States. In this case, let's focus on the 9th district. There's lots of businesses across the 9th district that do these things, right? There's also people that aren't filling the gaps. So how about this? How could the taxpayer, the business owner, the student, and the school all benefit? And the teachers union. And the teachers unions absolutely hate me. And that's okay. I don't like you guys either, because you guys aren't opening up the schools, so it's all good. But anyway, but I don't want to get rid of the unions, because I understand that they serve their purpose, just like how the police departments serve their purpose. So what I want to do is I want to bring apprenticeship programs to New Jersey, right? And here's how this program would work, right? School's failing, right? School doesn't have a good curriculum, good program, right? If there's at least one thing that can keep them together, right? Because one of the things about school choice that the teachers unions hate is that it prevents or they look at it, I should say, is this is a threat to their job. And they could lose their position because charter schools and private schools are doing far better than them. And you don't say. It's because, if they don't do good, they get fired. Unlike the public schools. In public schools, it kind of stays the same. So how do we make the public schools better? That's the only solution we have at this point, is to make the schools better. So we can increase the curriculum, which is going to have to happen by default. Because when we start to bring in these programs, like let's say you own a carpentry business, right? Or the dental practice, whatever the case is, right? And you want to take part in teaching the children, right? I want to teach children how to become carpenters, right? Just like I am. You've been in the carpentry field for over 20 years. And the benefit to you is this: you'll get a tax break of $20,000 or $30,000, right? Which is basically the cost of an entire employee at about maybe $18, $16 an hour, right? Something like that. So you'll basically get an entire write-off for one of your employees, which is something that I'm pretty sure no business owner is going to say no to, right? Now here's the catch. Every business is trying to vie for that same exact contract with that school, right? Now here's the thing. If the program's no good, the parents obviously they're either not going to want to deal with that program, or the school's going to have to go and find another contract to deal with, right? This will encourage, in my opinion, more parents to send their children to a specific school. For example, if school ABC teaches electrical, nursing, dental, or whatever by actual professionals that are coming to the school to teach the children, or the children go to their facility with the school chaperone, they learn the skill. You're learning this once a week. That's 4 weeks a month. That's 9 months out of the year, 4 years. By the time you're done with this, you're going to leave high school with an education, if the school gave you a good education, and by God, they need to, or else, or you'll see how this whole thing falls apart, right? If this school isn't getting a good contract, these people aren't coming in, the business doesn't want to do business, right?
Right.
So it all has to kind of be coalesced. So if you want your school to do well, you have to increase the curriculum. All right. Now you've actually got competition with the charter schools and the private schools, right? So you want to make your public school good, bring better education to the public schools. Not only that, give them a career opportunity. The charter schools aren't doing that right now. Okay, you want to secure your job, you have to make it better.
Facts.
Is that fair? I mean, I think it makes
perfect
sense.
fair. I think it holds everybody accountable.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, you want funding? You better have your schooling up to par.
Even more so than that. Like, one of the biggest complaints that I get from a lot of the mothers, mainly, right, who I'm really feeling for during this whole lockdown we've got going on, because a lot of these parents, they can't work while they have to stay home and teach their children. They have children in front of laptops all freaking day. Most of them getting literally no education. I feel for the kids with autism. The children have special needs that aren't getting the proper education from this. Some of these parents, they can't work, so they stay home all day teaching their children and doing what they got to do, yet we're still paying taxes to the school district while the NJEA is keeping our schools closed and won't go back in. In Patterson, for example, they're showing the teachers union's biggest sensational stunt now is, look at this, the windows don't open. Look, the fire alarm doesn't turn on. Like, oh my God, they put paint on the electrical sockets. If you plug something in, you will die. And I'm like, bro, come on. I've been going to Patterson schools my entire life. I've never seen it not like this. Not saying that these are good things. Okay, of course we got to resolve this. But at this point, while the school was locked down, you mean to tell me you didn't know the windows didn't open this entire year? You had no idea? You had no idea about the mold that should have been sorted out 4 years ago? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I believe at this point, there's a vested interest to just stay home. And most of these teachers, you see them in Bahamas, they're hanging out, they're in Puerto Rico, they're drinking all this, and like, oh, but then they got their mask in the airport. Oh, I got my vaccine, look at me. But they don't want to go and they don't want to go home and teach our children. They don't want to go out and actually do their job, right? So then how about this? All that money that's going to the schools, that money should come right back to the parents.
Yep.
I firmly believe that. You don't want to teach, you shouldn't be getting paid.
Facts.
You know what I mean? You shouldn't be getting paid. After all, the mother's a teacher now, right? In fact, I think that's a good. I support homeschooling as well too. And it's like, if a mother's been put in a situation where she has no choice and she can't work and she has to teach her children, and her children need special attention, then give that mother some money. You have to.
Yep.
Where's her taxes going then?
Absolutely.
You know? So these are all practical things. These are all very, very practical things. The only people who hate these ideas are people like Bill Pascrell, who have special interests. Yep. And the teachers unions love him, if you haven't noticed by now, but they love this guy. So yeah. So those are some of the things that I would.
Those are effective ideas. I am gonna say, I have no problem endorsing you. I think this is good. I think solutions are great, but you're also talking about trade-offs. Okay, here's a trade-off. You want funding? Your school better be up to par.
Correct.
Then you get contracts. Then that promotes business. So it's dope that you're doing that. And we need more politicians. Because you're not even a politician. You're a constitutionalist.
I'm a guy is what I am. I'm a guy. I'm a common sense guy. This is not rocket science, because you got to ask yourself, you're talking about trade-offs here, right? This is a very fair trade-off. Why has no one done this? This isn't difficult to implement. This really is not difficult to implement. If a school doesn't even have the infrastructure to do this, that's fine. The business does.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The business does. You know, they're paying for it. So why wouldn't they do? So it's like there's no excuse for this kind of stuff. Now, to briefly go into the JARO bill, right? So the JARO bill is the Justice and Accountability and Reporting Officers Bill. It's a bill that I put together that would basically help deal with, or what I believe would resolve the issue of police brutality. And I say police brutality because it's like, if you actually get the numbers, you know that it's not as crazy as the media is making it out to be, right? However, there's definitely an issue though with bad apples that need to get reviewed, that need to get released. And there's also an issue in terms of training, right? There's also an issue in terms of accountability, and there's an issue in terms of transparency, right? And there's an issue with community trust. So how do you resolve all of these issues where the police departments are satisfied, the community is satisfied, and the taxpayers are satisfied, right? Here's how I believe we do that, right? While AOC and Pascrell and these guys, they want to get rid of the police or defund them. And fun fact, the police used to be a tremendous supporter of my opponent for many, many years, and he never did anything for them, ever. 2020 was the first year that they didn't come out and endorse me for obvious reasons. I mean, there'll be retaliation. I understand that, but after speaking with a lot of these cops, this is the first year that the unions did not publicly come out and endorse Bill Pascrell. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why. So here's how this would work, right? When I was in the Air Force, everything that you learned was documented. right?
Mm-hmm.
On April 1st, 2009, you learn how to replace an air filter on a Dash 86 generator.
Yep,
Right?
and you got to make sure you got your paperwork.
Exactly. So you got your husband's in this.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And if you are wrong and you mess this up, nobody can save you. Your flight chief can't save you. Your supervisor can't save you. Listen, on this day, you learned this. You signed it. My signature's there. Your signature's there. Why did you do it the other way?
Yep.
Oh, because airhead. Okay, well then there's nothing we can do to protect you. All right, there's nothing we can do to protect you. Right? Something like that does not exist with police right now. Right? That's number one. There's also not a way to get rid of or report officers that are doing the wrong thing, right? So typically it's like, you'll report it to, internal investigations or something like that. But from what I've heard from other police officers, there's always some kind of way that it can come back to you and get back to you, or even harm you or retaliate you in some way. I believe there should be laws on place where police officers can't be retaliated against. If a police officer has done something and they've called out some kind of wrongdoing, then I believe that police officer should be protected. That police officer is doing the right thing. They're trying to make the force better. All right. Yeah. And these are the type of people that I want on the force. We don't want these guys gone. All right. And that's one of the biggest problems. Talk to a lot of these cops, and most of them sometimes don't even want to be cops because some of them are dealing with cops that are just not, they make it difficult for you to continue to do this job, especially now that people are trying to get rid of qualified immunity. It's like now it's even harder for me to be a cop. Right. So you have this record that keeps track of everything that you've learned. That's number one. And one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is the first thing people typically say with police reform is you got to get rid of the police unions. I say absolutely not. Because just like the electrical unions, just like the teachers unions and all these unions, they all serve their purpose. Their job is to ensure that the police officers are well taken care of and to, protect the interests of the police, right? Here's the issue though. They can protect the interests of the police even when the police are wrong. Why do they do this though? Because that's how they get their funding. Right? Yeah. If the police department is effective and the police officer is doing good, they're going to get their funding. So it's in their best interest to ensure the police department looks as good as possible. We just need to change that incentive. It has to be in their best interest to get rid of the worst officers and only keep the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there has to be some kind of scoring system where it's like, okay, these are the bad guys. These are the good guys that are in your ranks right now. Right. The more of these guys that are not doing the right thing that are in your ranks, it's going to affect your funding.
Yep.
It's going to affect your school. So you have to get rid of these people. It's number one. Number two, how do you build the bridge between the community and the police themselves, right? So the way that I believe that we do this is by creating community internal investigations boards, right? So the way that this would work is just like how the public would elect a sheriff, you would elect a community justice officer. Let's say we're going to say we want Suni to be the community justice officer of Patterson, New Jersey, right? Everybody's gone through an election. We all chose you, and we trust you to be the most transparent person to help get this done, right? You would have your team of people, and your job is to investigate police-related incidents that the community are concerned with. Right? Someone's been harmed, someone's been killed in the community. We think the police did some kind of wrongdoing. Suni, go and get to the bottom of it. All right. And help us figure it out. The police are also doing their own investigation. Right. And the reason why I bring this up, and the reason why the motivation for this is back in 2018, there was a gentleman in our city. His name was Jameek Lowry. He passed away after an incident happened at the police department. There's all kinds of speculation as to what happened to him. But the main thing that we're going to focus on is he was taken to the hospital. Man was in the hospital, face was swollen up. He's dead. There's no idea as to how this happened. The police were the last ones that were with this guy. His face is swollen shut and he's dead, right? Police did their internal investigation. They're found of no wrongdoing, right? Now, the people obviously don't believe them and they don't care to believe the police. Now, if the police are telling the truth, right? And let's say the police are telling the truth, how do you convey that to the public? And how do we even build trust that, like, look, dude, we really did nothing wrong? This is why the community needs to get involved. So
facts.
So you as the community officer, right? While the police are doing their investigation, the community is also doing their investigation. They have to work together with the police departments while doing this. Okay.
I like that. That's a dope idea.
To ensure there's no cross contamination of information, you in the community, you saw what the police officer saw, right? Now, if there's ever a situation, here's another step, right? What if the community loses faith in you? What if you get corrupted? What if you get bribed? Right? How do we ensure that you are going to continue to do your job the right way and you're not going to screw them over, right? Here's how I believe we do that. right? Or what if the police stonewall you and they make it difficult for you to even get your investigation done, right? This comes for the final part. And the final part would require the Department of Justice creating a national police department, right? So you're familiar with OSI, right? Your husband's Air Force, you said, right?
Yeah.
For those of you guys that don't know, OSI is Operation Special Investigations, right? So they're basically like the FBI of the Air Force, right? And all they do is investigate, you know, scumbags in the Air Force, people that are doing the horrible stuff, right? That's literally their job all day. You know, they have the security forces that are police, but these guys are cops for the military, right? Same thing. These officers from the Department of Justice, their job is to investigate these issues when they become escalated outside of the reach of the community, right? The reason why I believe that it needs to be done this way is, for example, initially the plan called for someone in another city or another part of the state to come and investigate, but that person could still be corrupted. So it would have to be somebody from like Wyoming to come to New Jersey to do this investigation.
Right.
You know, our government's doing this kind of stuff all the time anyway. Right. So it has to be someone who comes in, because this person from all the way out there, he has no vested interest in you, the community officer. He has no vested interest in the police department. He wants to go home and see his family, get to the bottom of the nonsense, come back with the facts, and go home. That's his job, right? That's how I believe we ensure the transparency. So when we and another thing that this bill would call for is officers that take the time and take the initiative to better themselves as officers, whether it be going to school for a psychology program or learning de-escalation tactics, learning special martial arts, whatever the case is. I believe these officers should be compensated for doing this, because it's like if you're willing to go above and beyond to improve yourself and become a better officer, I have no problem with that. Sure, this is going to cost a lot more on taxes, but I'd rather have a safer community, a well-equipped community, a well-disciplined, and a strong and professional police department, if that's what it means. If it means that, I've got no problem with paying that. I'm not much of a tax guy. I'm very libertarian on time to taxes, but you know the way the world is set up. You know, the world's set up in a really jacked up way, unfortunately. But if it led to this, I'm totally fine with that, you know, because something needs to be done in our community. Getting rid of these guys is not going to make it any better. Now, with all these things in place, as an officer, I believe a lot of these issues will get resolved in about 10 years tops. Because, and let me tell you why. If I'm an officer and someone's doing something wrong, I now have the ability to get rid of this officer and explain like through a chain of investigation if it comes down to that, right? The community now have some kind of transparency with the police departments, and if they lose faith in you, the federal government now has to come and investigate to completely mitigate the whole thing. So the reason why it's designed this way is like it keeps the power with the community for as long as possible until communication breaks down, essentially, right?
And that's how it should work anyway. That's how our government is supposed to work.
Exactly. So it's all supposed to be community based. So you give it about 10 years as an officer. If you're doing the wrong thing, these police departments are going to clean up, because it's either you do the right thing and you stay a cop, you do the wrong thing, or you do the right thing and then you quit, or you get caught. Those are the only three solutions. You give it 10 years, it's going to clear itself up. Clear itself up. So I don't see this as harming the police. I don't see this as harming the unions. I don't see this as harming the community. And even and one last thing that I'm forgetting. If you're a doctor, you're going to cut open someone's heart, you're going to go and do surgery, you need to renew your license. You're going to be a hairstylist, you need to renew your license before you mess up somebody's hair, right? Being a cop is not as easy as the military makes it seem. I mean, as the media makes it seem. It's a pretty complicated job. And you have to be very well disciplined and sharp for this, right? So why aren't we routinely requiring our officers to recertify? If you want to carry this badge, you have to recertify every year, every 2 years, right? The doctor has to do it, but why not the cop? This guy's he doesn't have an easy job.
Right.
Let's be honest here, right? If we know this, right? Like shooting your gun once a year and, you know, checking off some boxes on a computer is not refreshing. That's not training, right?
Yes.
I think you should go through something like that again. All common sense stuff. Very, very simple, the things that I want to do. And the last thing we're talking about in terms of term limits, it's very simple. 8, 10, 12. The president gets 8 years. Congressman gets 10 years. Senator gets 12 years. No more than that. It shouldn't be that complicated. Even me, when I get in, I don't want to do more than 8 years, honestly, in Congress. You know, 10, if it really goes a distance, I'll do 10 years. But I really don't want to be in politics that long. I don't. Yeah. To be contrary to popular belief, politics is extremely frustrating to me. It's frustrating because it's like, to me, it feels so simple. And they make it so complicated. So it's not something I want to do long term. What I want to do is wake people up, get people involved, get more of us in government, and then I can enjoy my country again. All right, because I'm 30 years old.
Facts, man.
I don't got time for this. I want to enjoy my life. But if I got to go in there and fight to ensure it, then hey, I'll do it for now. You know, I can enjoy it later.
Everything you said is a common sense approach. It makes sense. Our taxes won't be going to foreign countries, won't be going to special interest lobbying politicians. It's going to the people and for the people. Okay, you're paying taxes. We're going to put this towards training for these officers. Oh, you're paying taxes? Okay, we're actually going to spend some money to upgrade our curriculum. Everything you said makes sense. I don't understand how others are like, counterparts.
Look, it's like I hate taxes more than the next man. All right.
Yeah.
But if we're forced to pay taxes, I want my money. I want my money's worth. Okay. I want my money's worth. And I believe every citizen, you see the look in my eyes, you should have that same look in your eyes. All right. I worked for this money, and you took my money and you gave it to a politician who's doing nothing. All right. I want my money. You need to kind of don't be like menacing, but you know what I mean? You got to be adamant about that kind of stuff, right? The reason why our country is where it is right now is because we've gotten very lax. We've gotten very cool with allowing the professionals to handle it, right?
Yep.
We did the same thing with this lockdown right now. We let the professionals give us the solutions, right? We let the scientists tell us what it is, right? The problem with America, it's probably the biggest gift, and it's also the biggest curse of our country is America. We actually have the luxury of passing the hard stuff to other people, right? We don't got to figure out sickness. We got the best doctors in the world. We don't got to figure out energy. You know what I mean? We're America. We don't have to figure out any of this stuff. Politics, we're a free country, America. Look at the flag. You see that? America. I don't got to worry about it. But since we've passed it so much to other people, now politicians control it, right? Corporations control our country essentially at this point, right? Because we're not getting involved. So we got to wake up to this kind of stuff.
You say what I say in a more professional, refined, because I'll just get on here and be like, bleep, 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 bleep. And you might hear an F-bomb and an MF in there, but it's simple. It's simple. Americans have been spoiled, and they have completely handed off their responsibility to simply exist off to a government, and the Fed has become too big. It has become, I didn't realize how many things they had their hands in until I started podcasting. Everything. It's ridiculous. I keep stressing to you guys how important the 2022 vote is. And I'm glad Billy is here because he's showing you just how urgent and like it's urgent. We need to fix it right now because communism is imminent.
Let me kind of give a quick reality check to a lot of the people that are on here because most of us have not lived it. For example, our generation, right? We didn't see the Cold War. We saw 9/11, all right? But we were already the biggest, baddest, most hardcore, you don't mess with us military the world has ever seen. Okay, we still are. I mean, we'll hope we still are with Biden and all this. But we didn't see the Cold War where like, at any moment the communists are coming down the Passaic River. You know what I mean? So we were not in that kind of situation. We didn't live through World War II where it's like, Hitler's about to. We didn't see any of this stuff. Okay. America's only 325 years, right? Then there was the Revolutionary War, right? There was a Civil War. There were so many things that happened. And every single time Americans had to like say, you know what, we got to get up and fight. We got no choice.
Yeah.
We're up against we got no choice but to fight. And I've noticed all the greatest things, all the greatest psychological shifts in our country happened when America was up against the wall. When America was always about to be defeated, we were always about to be taken out. At the last minute, the phoenix rises, right? I don't know if we're going to be able to rise this time. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of our youth have no clue about the things that I just talked about.
Absolutely.
Most of them have no clue the dangers of socialism, the dangers of communism, Pol Pot, Mao Zedong, Kim Jong-un, Kim Il-sung. They don't know. Most of you have no idea these names that I'm talking about. Fidel Castro. They don't know a lot of these guys. Hugo Chavez. Every time that we had to fight, we never really stood a shot. The United States, when it was founded, we fought against the largest, most dominant, most powerful navy the world has ever seen. A bunch of random dudes in the woods did this.
Facts.
Okay. For example, fun fact, like people, like you guys probably like what people got to understand is that even this war, even the Revolutionary War, when it was fought, it took only 3% of the population.
Yes.
To actually set the motion in place for the Revolutionary War. I don't ever want there to come a time where the people are going to war with their own government. I absolutely do not want that. But the reason why I bring this up is that every single time that America has been backed up against the wall, we had to fight for our lives. Yep. And there's a quote, let me pull it up. There's a quote by Thomas Jefferson that I remember I heard this quote when I was like maybe in 6th grade, and I didn't understand it until I left the military when I was about 21. I was 21 when I saw this, right? So it was about 2011 when I figured this out. And the quote's from Thomas Jefferson. You probably might have heard this one, where the quote says, "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure." Meaning, you and I, we consider ourselves patriots, or the average American, we consider ourselves Americans, right? Mm-hmm. But we can only be Americans as long as we're able to maintain this republic, if we're able to keep this republic. There are some very bad people that want to wish harm to the United States, both inside and outside of the United States.
Yeah.
But when we sit here and we enjoy the luxuries like we're doing right now, while the tyrants stand up, we may be forced into a position where we may be backed up against the wall. The saddest part is many people in our generation have no clue how to fight.
They have no clue. They don't.
They have no clue how to fight.
I have a little sister. You know, she just turned 18. She'll be 19. And I try to have these conversations that we're having here. She'll listen, but you know what? She's like, man, this is boring. You know, I want to talk about Twitter. I want to talk about the latest video I seen. Her entire world view is Twitter. Now imagine the youth. That's one.
You see, here's another thing, man. Hong Kong. I don't know if you were paying attention to the protests that were happening in Hong Kong over the past summer, but Hong Kong was autonomous for a very, very long time, and the United Kingdom we're going to have to release Hong Kong to China, essentially. That was a time frame that they had to agree upon, right? If you were watching the videos of those protests in Hong Kong, they weren't out there marching with the Chinese flag. They barely had the Hong Kong flag. They were out there waving that flag.
The American flag.
They were out there waving the American flag, getting shot at by the police with the American flag.
Yep.
While our generation is burning the same flag. They have no clue
man.
what they are talking about. They have no clue what they're doing. That's my biggest fear. Getting in this race is like what a lot of the young people got to understand is that the previous generation, the boomer generation, they've lived their lives, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that their lives are going to be cut short. I hope they live till infinity. But what I'm saying is they've lived their lives. They've seen the economy at the top. You know, they rode the roller coaster. They had a blast in the 80s. You know, they enjoyed the 70s. Like, are you kidding me? You know, the 90s wasn't too bad. You know, they saw everything, right? We are getting the remnants. And we have no clue how to build. We have no clue how to manage our books. We have no clue how to even structure as a society. People can't even figure out what gender they are right now.
Oh,
there's so many different confusions. There's so many different confusions and distractions and identity politics and things that are tearing our focus on all the things that absolutely do not matter. That absolutely do not matter when the main thing we should be focusing on, is getting our country back together. Getting everybody all in one place. Our generation, it's cool to be anti-American. It's cool to talk about tearing America down. It's cool to be some kind of communist. It's cool to call someone who loves America an Uncle Tom or call them anti this or anti that, or you're a bigot, or it's cool because their professors are telling them that it's cool. The blue check marks on Twitter are telling them it's cool. But you know who really thinks it's cool? The CCP. The Communist Chinese Party think it's really cool that you as an American don't want this, that you don't want freedom. You don't want freedom of speech. In fact, you want people not to speak. They did a survey where they found about 47% of these millennials believe that certain speech, hate speech, should be censored. In other words, you don't want freedom of speech.
Wow.
You don't want the right to defend yourself. They want to get rid of police, but then they also want police to protect them when it suits them. You see, we're I'm going on a rant.
Here, I'm going to go on a rant. I'm going to pick your brain about this. I think, matter of fact, I know they are allowing so much of this stuff to go on, especially in the Black communities, because they don't give a crap. Okay, these people live in poverty. Well, how can we not really have to pay attention to that? Oh, just let them kill themselves.
Yeah.
And then we're going to let them kill themselves. And we're going to completely highlight police brutality when 20 people a year died. So then they're going to get pissed off. You know what they're going to do? Remove the cops, and Blacks are going to do the jobs themselves. I really think that's what they're pushing towards anyway.
You know something? You know something? I'm going to take you down a rabbit hole. I'm going to take everybody down a rabbit hole real quick. All right. I'm no conspiracy guy. All right. But this sounds like a conspiracy. And I was talking with a couple of people. And you know what's funny? A lot of people, I'd say about 80 to 90% of the people in Patterson, 80 to 90% of the Black people, I should say, that I've spoken to in Patterson believe that this is what's going on, right? There's a conspiracy afoot, and I believe this is what's going on. You remember what happened to Brooklyn? Where you from?
I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay. All right. But you been to Brooklyn before?
Yeah.
All right. Well, how long ago?
This was after the towers came down.
So it was a situation still back there. All right. At that time, so we're talking 2001, 2002. So Brooklyn was a situation back then. You go to Brooklyn now, and Brooklyn is hipster central. Hipster central. You know, yuppies galore, murals on the wall. It's just not what it used to be. It used to be a very dangerous place, right? But here's what else happened. Here's what else happened in Brooklyn. Brooklyn got really expensive to the point where a lot of minorities started moving out of there.
Yep. Gentrification.
Oh, whoa, good. You said it before I could say it. Good. So look. But what happens before, and every area that gets gentrified, what happens before the gentrification?
It gets destructive. It gets poor.
Yes.
There's no attention to it. It just let it go.
There's a surge in violence. That's usually what causes the people to leave. Last year, violence in Patterson shot up 60%. Yo, in the past, it's only been 121 days, right? It's only been 121 days since or 100 and so days since Joe Biden's been president. We've already had, we had 7 shootings, make it 8 because 8 people have been killed recently as this person's been dumped in front of the hospital 2 days ago. 33 shootings, 7 dead in only 100 days in the year just beginning, right? 60% has been up since last year, right? Violence has to skyrocket. Taxes have to skyrocket. All these things have to happen. And what happens to the Black people who can't afford these areas? They leave, right? You know, I'm going down south. I got my cousins down there. This place, I'm done. I'm going somewhere else, right? Or they leave Patterson and they go to Haledon, which is the next city over. Exactly what I was talking about earlier.
Yep.
Right?
Trade-offs. Okay. We'll give you an opportunity, but you leave.
Exactly. Exactly. And guess what happens? They bring that same voting behavior over there as well, too. Right? So now it just gets bigger and bigger. So now when these areas start to get violent and these people start to leave, people leave their houses behind, right? So what happens? They'll buy a multifamily that looks reasonable, doesn't even look that bad. You know, you could probably rehab that house for like $50,000, $40,000. They'll knock the whole thing down, and in that footprint, they'll make like a 16, 15 unit multifamily, right? In the footprint of where a 2-family used to be. And these things are popping up all of a sudden. And guess what? For a 1-bedroom, they're going to charge you about $2,000. And guess what? You better believe someone's getting shot on your front step. You better believe it. And they're going to charge you $2,000. It's going to be like that for a while. Give it about 8 years, 7 years, 10 years. The more people leave, the more they buy up, the more they put these new places and make it more expensive, right? And what happens to you?
We're forced to go elsewhere.
Now listen,
poverty.
I'm all for investment in the community. I'm all for making the community better and nicer. But when there starts to get too many of these apartments, you know, what people got to understand is the more apartments, the more people. The more people, the higher the taxes will be. The higher the taxes will be, the less parking you'll the less parking you'll that came out. The less parking you'll have, the more the more issues you'd have to, I mean, the more you'd have to increase the taxes to deal with the police burden, to deal with the fire burden, to deal with the water burden, to deal with all these things, right? And this is all going to come down on you, right? So it may look pretty, but you're going to lose your city. You're going to lose your city. And that's what's happening to us right now. And nobody wants to say a thing. While the people that are championing it are the most progressive, Green New Deal, most Marxist, it's all for you. And it's these suburban dudes that have no clue what's going on in the inner city that are championing this stuff, wearing the Black Lives Matter shirts, walking in a neighborhood they know nothing about. Talking about Black Lives Matter while they're pushing us out of our own neighborhood.
Facts.
Yeah. So that's a conspiracy. But
that's not a conspiracy.
I've seen it happen so many. Yeah, but you know how it is. The things that are facts today make you crazy. The things that are facts today make you a conspiracy theorist. Literally, if watch this. By the time we're done with this conversation, they're gonna put on YouTube. They're gonna put that little placard that says, "Gentrification is not happening in the inner cities." You know.
Yes, it is.
Hey, man. You know, we live in an upside down clown world right now, and I want to bring some sense back to it.
Well, Billy, I'm gonna do the best I can to help get you elected because you speak for the people, and we need more pro-Americans. We need more people that think with common sense. As much as it hurts people's feelings, because you were in my comment section, I said something so plain and so clear. Everybody got in their feelings. They started talking about their personal life. There are no what is it called? You are not the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
Like, you see, the thing is it's oh man, it's sad. Like, for example, when I was a kid, when we were kids, right? You're what, 30? I'm assuming as well?
I'm 30.
Okay, good. So when we were kids, the stuff that was considered a joke as a kid would never fly today.
Oh, not at all.
Would never fly today. Today, people took pride in being hard, right? You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, now you're not gonna sticks and stones, you ain't gonna hurt me. You know, today, people take pride in how much of a victim they can be. Look at my tears. He said something that went against what I think about. I don't think that way. And he said the other thing. Let me put it on Twitter and destroy his life. Let me make it very difficult. Let me go online and call his boss and get him fired.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Welcome to America in 2021, but it's only going to be like that for now. We need to change the narrative, and that's why I look to do. We need to bring that pride back into our country. We need to bring that toughness, that grit. You know, that strength. That's what kept America going. You know what I mean? That's what kept America going. It's like rather there used to always, growing up, America always found a solution. All right. We don't lose. We win. We find solutions. We kick ass all over the globe. We do not lose. We are America. You understand?
Facts.
Today, it's like,
I don't know what it is.
Man, it's a scary situation. It's a scary situation. That's why you got to get Billy Prempeh elected to Congress.
I like that. Get him elected, guys. The 22 election is extremely important. There's a reason that we're pulling these candidates on our page, Be the Change. There's a reason we're doing it on Primetime Patriots. There's a reason that MATA is a platform to have constructive conversations that cause people to think. That is my entire movement. I don't care about how you feel. I don't care about what you think about me. I would just like to have a logical conversation with you. And people can't do that. No. You say something and it's like a short circuit. They just freak out. I'm about to do a show at the Liberal. So watch this man short circuit. You know why? He's on the Occupy Democrat page. And he knows the Black plight. And I'm a personality. Stop using my Black skin to push forth your pieces of legislation.
Yes.
More Black people need to stand up and say that.
You know,
they've used civil rights and they still haven't given us shit.
I just got to say something real quick. Ooh, I'm glad you brought this up. Oh, man. HR1, you familiar? Have you read the bill yet?
Yep.
Okay.
Know all about it.
Baseman Bill Pascrell co-sponsored this bill.
No way.
Yeah. He sponsored the bill. So now here's a funny thing about this. For you guys that don't know about HR1, HR1 is a bill that would allow anyone to vote.
Yes, anyway.
It's going to it'll lower the voting age to 16. It'll allow for early voting. It'll remove the requirement to have a photo ID to vote.
Yep.
Which means illegals can walk right on in and vote. And there are bases for this, right? My opponent, Baseman Bill Pascrell, likes to go on and say that the Republicans are trying to bring back Jim Crow era. Actually, this is him with the script. The Republicans are trying to break, and then he'll look back every now and then and try and, make it seem like he's not reading the script. If they can't see me, I can't see them. They'll never know.
They don't know.
He'll read the script and he'll talk about how, this is the Republicans bringing back Jim Crow era bills that would make it difficult for black people to vote. Because if black people tried to vote without this bill, it would be impossible for black people to get an ID, right? It disproportionately, in fact, this is what his son, the conversation that me and his son had, right? Trying to defend his father because I kind of kept going after him. And I said, first off, he was like, you keep talking so negatively about my father. Now, this is the Bill Pascrell III, Bill Pascrell's multi-million-dollar lobbyist of a son from Washington, D.C. This guy had the audacity to tell me that I'm coming at his father and I'm disrespecting his father. I told him, like, tell me what I've said about your father that's not true.
Right.
Okay. Because everything I've said about your father has been true. Right. In fact, you're telling me I'm saying bad things about your father. It's like, what about the time you came at me and said that you were going to kick my ass? Remember that, Bill? I was like, remember that? And I remember I posted it on social media and then it went viral and then people embarrassed you and then you blocked me and you blocked everybody online. You remember that, Bill? It's like, and now we're face to face. I don't remember what you're talking about. Show him the picture, right? Anyway, we shifts the conversation to saying, oh, well, my father, you say things about my father that aren't true. My father he's been signing great bills. He's been in office for many, many years. He's been, for 40 years, he's been doing this. And I'm like, bro, if you read HR1, Bill, and he's like, have you read all 600 pages? I said, absolutely. I'm trying to take his chair. Of course I read the bill. You know what I mean? He sponsored it. So I'm like, have you read it? He's like, of course I read the bill. And I'm like, this is what it would allow, X, Y, and Z, like I just explained to you guys.
Yep.
Now, I kid you not, this is what he said. He says, I said, what makes you think that people should be able to vote without an ID? He looked me dead in the eyes and said this. It is disproportionately harder for black people and people of color to get ID. And what the Republicans want is making it hard for black people to exercise their right to vote.
Talking to a black man.
And I'm like, bro, I don't know if you've noticed, but I am as black as I could get. I'll be honest. Yo, listen, I know a lot of people. I don't know a single black person that doesn't have ID.
Neither do I.
I know homeless people with ID. Okay, you can go to the county and get a free ID if you don't want to get the driver's license. What are you talking about? So I'm like, listen. So then I said this. I said, listen, man, you know what you just said? And I was like, what you just said is pretty racist, man. He's like, are you calling me a racist? And I'm like, no, I'm not calling you racist. I'm saying what you said is racist. How dare you? F you. F. He starts dropping F-bomb. And I'm like, yo, bro, I never came at you sideways. Don't come at me sideways, number one. Right? I was like, all I said was what you just said. It don't sound right. Like you're telling a black dude that I can't vote because it's hard for me to get an ID.
Yep.
I'm like, if that's the case, then I shouldn't even be able to run against your father because I'm so black.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't even be able to, we shouldn't even be on the same ballot. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, black people aren't supposed to be on this paper right now. How do you get this far? You know? But this is what they really believe. And that's the thing that upsets me. And the thing that upsets me with the African-American community is like some of them will champion these people like, yeah, man, these Republicans are racist, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, man, yeah, I support them. And I'm like, but this is what they really think of you, okay? They're not voting based on policy, okay? All of my policies are going to be like, are you an American? Did you come here legally? Do you love this country? Then I got your back. Yep. I don't care what color you look like. I don't care if you're teal, bro. You know, are you an American? Are you an American? You're an American? Great. Okay, that's all I care about. While these guys want to focus on your skin color just to get agendas and legislation passed, I care about whether the fact you're an American. All right,
Facts.
that's all that matters, because it has to benefit everybody. You start speaking, but they've noticed that the Democrats have gotten very good at this. They've noticed that when they speak, if they could find a way to bend the numbers, and I mean if they could find a way to bend the numbers and get the groups against one another and say, we support the gays, we support the blacks, we support the feminists, we support the Latinos, we support the Muslims, we support this, we support that, we support whatever, we support the trans, they can compartmentalize all these people and keep people constantly at each other's necks.
Yep.
But they've created, they've structured it in such a way where it's like, even though everyone's at each other's necks, they all vote for the same agenda. And it's an agenda that's against all of their individual interests when you look at it bit by bit. You know,
Facts.
You look at the feminist agenda. The feminist agenda is talking about abortion and how that disproportionately affects the African American community, right? You know, they're talking about. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but you know what I'm talking about.
I got you. Yeah. This is what happens when intelligent, like, boss people sit down and have a conversation about what's going on. I like to use this analogy or this metaphor all the time. They are shaking the ant's nest, and we are attacking each other and not the people that just shook us.
Yeah. You know, you got to go after the people. Oh, I like that one. We got to go after the ones that shook us and not us, each other. I agree I agree with that.
I'm going to have you on my show so that I love the Black community. It has become a passion of mine.
I mean, you better. It better be
because I was the statistic. You know, my mom was a single parent mom. You know, I know my dad, but he wasn't really effective in my life. I had to wing life and figure it out because my mother gave me she gave me no life skill, no life tool. You need help, go get government assistance, depend on your family, and you never aspire for more. There's so many others they have that same mentality. So I feel for them, but I'm not about to coddle you. I'm going to tell you, yo, you're whack, bro. You want to be a victim?
Yo, I'm glad you brought that up because like that's one thing that I've never really understood. First off, every Black person should be a Republican. Okay. Yeah. This party was founded by Black people. 23 of the first senators and congressmen that were African American were all Republican. And we're talking in the 1800s.
Yes, 2 years after abolishment of slavery, by the way.
Oh, yeah. The first African American congresswoman wasn't until 1964. And the first African American senator wasn't until 4 years after I was born, 1994. 5 years, sorry. 1994. Okay? The Republican Party has been on the side of African Americans since the inception. Okay, even before that, when they were the Whig Party, right? A lot of people don't even know about that. Republican Party was founded in Ripon, Texas. Ooh, do your research. You see, a lot of people don't know this kind of stuff because when you do know this, you'll realize, well, why am I supporting this side?
Yep.
Right? The Republicans, some people will ask me, well, why should I be a Republican? Why should I be a Republican? What's the Republican Party going to do for me? And my answer is absolutely nothing. The Republican Party's job is not to do anything for you. The Republican Party's job is to ensure the survival of our republic. All right. Well, that's the role of government as a whole, right? We provide opportunities. We're not here to give you handouts. We're here to give you hand-ups. All right.
Yes.
We want lower taxes. We want more jobs. We want less government interference in your life. Why do you want so much government? Why do you want such high taxes? Why do you not want opportunity? Because the Democrats, while they'll give you stuff, they'll give you things knowing that you're never going to bite the hand that feeds you. You're never going to do it. I don't want that, right? We as Black people, listen, you mean to tell me, right? And I tell this to a lot of Black people, right? You mean to tell me that we survived slavery, we survived all kinds of wars, we survived Jim Crow, we survived all these things, only for you to tell me that these guys are the guys that did all this stuff are the ones that are for us? Since when? Since when? They're the ones that are keeping us. They're the ones keeping us locked in our own mind. I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, as a Black person, there's nothing that I want more than anything than to be independent. You can't hold me down. You can't hold my father down. You know, you can't. It's not in my character, right? As a Black person, I have no idea why you would want to be a part of a party that wants to just give, rather than a party that wants you to create, and give back. Actually, rather than just take. right? I want to see the black people. I want to see a lot more black businesses. I want to see our community thrive. We need to be winning, okay? The Democrat Party does not want us to win. They want us scared, they want us neglected, and they want us at the bottom of the barrel because that's how they control us. That's how they've controlled us for a very, very long time, and that's how they're going to continue to control us. You should be a Republican if you're black. If you're black, you should be a Republican. People say, oh, there was a party switch. What party switch?
Well, no switch.
What party? There was no switch, right? It's the same thing. If the Democrats will say things like this. Oh, they had to switch because all the racists somehow went this way, and all the regular guys went down that way, and that's how everything's normal. You see, we're actually the Republicans, and they're the Democrats. All this happened in a span. It had nothing to do with the New Deal. Literally had nothing to do with the New Deal that the Democrats put in place that was going to give all these entitlement benefits, most of which would have helped a lot of the African Americans in the event of unemployment. And some kind of work hardship, right? That was literally the only thing that got a bunch of the Republicans that were black. About 90% of the black people were Republicans at the time. That was literally the only thing that got them to vote Democrat for the first time. You want to talk about a real switch? That is the switch. These are facts, okay? Look this up.
Facts.
This is a fact.
The voters switched, not the parties.
Yes.
And the voters, the black demographic switched because Martin Luther King aligned himself, especially with the civil rights. Even if you look at charts, because I used to track all this stuff, there is a massive surge in 65, 64.
Yes.
And it's never switched back, ever.
Nope. Nobody bites the hand that feeds them. You know what I'm saying? The difference is with slavery, try to control your mind, right? But then they got to feed you, house you, take care of you, do all this stuff, right? In modern slavery today, you feed yourself, you clothe yourself, and I'll give you the scraps so that you have to depend on me. And if you go anywhere past that point, I'm going to rip the carpet under you so you go right back down and go right back in my control. You want to talk about slavery? That's the most effective, most genius, most diabolical plan for slavery the world has ever seen. And it's working far better than slavery's ever worked. Because you don't have to be enslaved by somebody else. Your neighbors, your society, the people that surround you that believe in that identity, they are the new slave masters, and they will drag you down and put you right back into that same mentality. They don't want you to think for yourself. They don't want you. You start thinking in another way, you're an Uncle Tom. No, don't be an Uncle Tom. Think the way we think. Stay here. No. Don't go outside your mind. Stay here.
Yep.
That's the way this rolls. No. Think for yourself.
Everybody. Get out and vote. Whoever's in New Jersey, you're in his district, you're in the 9th district, you better get your ass out to vote. Americans are asking for a voice that is going to represent them. You have one right here.
Not just go out and vote, but it's like if you're sitting down and you're listening to this and you feel this like fire, like I like what you say. I'm talking to you. Then I'm talking to you specifically. You need to stop just feeling that fire, and you got to do something with it.
Get involved.
You got to do something with it, because let me tell you something. I'm not a public speaker. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not a public speaker. Most of the time, I don't remember what I said, and I don't even watch most of the videos after I've said stuff. I'm serious.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of just talk, and it is what it is. The truth is, when you really believe something, you're passionate about something, and you feel it from the bottom of your heart and soul, the words you need to say will come out. And there's no way you're going to be able to corrupt your words. There's no way you're going to be able to corrupt your thoughts, because you genuinely believe this kind of stuff. You know, the same's going to happen to you. The second you start talking about what's true to you, the things you believe in and the things that you really want to see, and you get passionate about it, the words will come to you. The resources will come to you. The friends, the family, the support, it will come to you. Because I'm telling you, there was a time in August before I went on the Tim Pool show, a month before I went on the Tim Pool show, I was going to pull the plug and drop out of the race altogether. Oh, wow. I was going to drop out of the race. You know, Passaic County left me in the darkness, didn't help me out. Hudson County screwed me over with the line. I eventually got it back when my other opponent dropped out. Bergen County was non-existent. NJGOP didn't give a damn about what was happening in the district at the time. You know, I was doing it all by myself. The website, I designed it, built it myself. The graphic designs, did it all myself. Videos, was doing it all by myself until I got a video guy. Everything, the social media, the Facebook ads, filing all of my donations with the FEC, literally every single thing about this campaign, filing the paperwork, sending the letters, getting the petitions filed, getting all the signatures, everything. I did it all by myself, And the truth is, I think that was probably one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. The best thing that could have ever happened to me was the Republican Party not helping me. And it's not because I'm black. It's got nothing to do with that. They didn't help because there's a vested interest, like I explained to you guys earlier. But them not helping me really exposed to me just how bad the problem is. And I had to figure it out by myself. I figured out how to get the TV ads by myself. I've already been building websites and marketing by myself. So I kind of just use that to get the word out and get things done. And I kind of just put it all together. You know, when I finally got my team together back in, when I finally got my team, hey, there we go. When I finally got my team together, like late August or so, that's when things really started to push together. But for about 6-7 months prior to that, man, it was a real big grind. It was a real big grind. But it was worth it. Every single second of it was worth it, because now I know when people want to run and people are trying to get things done, I know exactly what it's going to take or what it's going to do. I'm assuming it's the same in a lot of other states, but in New Jersey, I know exactly how this machine operates, and I know what these guys are doing. A lot of these politicians who've been in office for many, many, many years, a lot of them don't have the influence that I do. Or they may have influence behind closed doors where they can make the guy with a lot of money do this or the guy with that. They may have influence like that. But when we're talking about the people, okay, I may not know all the tough, heavy hitter guys, right? But when it comes to the people, mark my words, there's nobody that can get the word out like I can in the 9th District. Nobody. There's nobody in the state that's willing to say the things that I'm willing to say or get the things done in the way that I'm willing to get it done. Nobody can do this kind of stuff. And I'm glad it happened this way. I'm glad they did this. I'm glad they did this, because now what this shows me is that this really can be done by the people. And it should be done by the people, because when these county groups and these little organizations get too controlled, then the power consolidates to the top, and it's who the person at the top wants to choose, not who the people want to choose. That's why it's your responsibility to get involved in your local government. So if you feel that fire, get involved in your local government, get involved in your county committee, run for something. You're sick and tired of your school board, run for school board. They're all you know, doing the opposite of what needs to be done anyway. So you go in there, you're more likely than not going to do a better job. Okay. Because, and I'm talking about, come at this from a practical position. All right. These politicians, they make political problems to practical problems. All right. Normal stuff that happens that could be easily resolved, they don't resolve it. We got a grant of X amount of, like for example, there was a councilman I saw the other day was speaking in the in the Patterson City Council the other day, and he said something that I resonated with so much. They were talking about approving a budget to pay for. I mean, they were approving I guess a petition for a grant that they were supposed to get. And they had to apply by a certain deadline, and this grant was going to give like $65 million to the city of Patterson for public safety. Right? He didn't oppose the bill, but he raised the point that was very, very valid that I haven't heard a lot of people in Patterson talk about. Because he said, listen, $65 million to deal with public safety and stuff like that is great, but what's the money going to go for? And then the councilwoman of this ward that I live in, she said, oh, well, it's going to go to, you know, policing and protecting the community. It was a very vague politician answer. It wasn't, you know, $100,000 is going to go to new police equipment. You know, $15,000 is going to go to cars. This is going to go to, you know, camera. This is going to go to training. None of that. Just, oh, it's going to go to this. It's going to go to that. It's going to go. And he raised the question again. He says, well, if we're going to get that money and we don't have a plan as to what we're going to do with this money, then basically what he was saying was all this is just lip service. Like we're just talking and it sounds nice. Oh, we're just going to go to public service, because that's one of the problems that happens a lot in Patterson. Well, I'd say in inner cities all the time. They get grants from the government. The money comes into the city. It goes to some politician. It gets cut up to a couple of people who are supposed to get the job done. And the job doesn't get done.
It doesn't get done.
You know, just like when Facebook gave Cory Booker a couple $1 billion. I don't know if you remember that, but Cory Booker, senator in New Jersey, at the time he was mayor of Newark. Facebook gave like a couple $1 billion, a couple million, or maybe $1 billion, I think it was. I don't remember what it was, to Newark, right? That was supposed to go to like buying new laptops and all this school stuff. It was like, you know, a generous thing that, you know, Zuckerberg tried to do, right? Not a single laptop has been purchased. Nobody knows where the money is. Nobody knows where the money is. And this stuff happens all the time. When you don't pay attention and you don't hold these politicians accountable, this is the type of stuff they get away with.
Facts, man. Thank you for spending your evening with me. I really appreciate it. Like I said, we're Facebook friends, so we'll keep in touch, because I want to bring you on a hot mic to where we can like really dive into stuff and have fun. But I hope everybody enjoyed this. please, please, please share this live so that the people in New Jersey and the 9th District can know who their candidates are and who's going to give them the best offer. So I'm going to run your ad and we're going to end the show. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. This is a fun conversation. I love conversations like this.
Thank you. And guys, if you guys would like to learn more, you can go and visit the website. Suni just put it up on screen, billyprempeh.com. On the issues page, you can learn a little bit more about my policies and the things that I stand for. You want to get in contact with me, you can reach out to me. Just know everybody's calling me. If I don't reach out to you, it's nothing personal. You can also text that number if it comes down to that. I'm also more active on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at some guy named Bill. Facebook, just type my name, Billy Prempeh. It's also on Twitter, the exact same thing. Suni, Primetime Patriots, thank you guys so much. God bless you. Everybody across the United States, God bless you. Stay patriotic. Don't be a punk. Fight for your country and love it to the end of time.
Facts, man, and we're out.
God bless you. Hi, my name is Billy Prempeh, and I've lived in Paterson, New Jersey my entire life. I'm a first-generation American, and I'm a child of legal immigrants. So hear me when I say this. America is a great nation, and Americans are incredible people. Anybody who tells you otherwise is straight up lying to you. You see, I'm proud to be an American. I stand for our national anthem. And I'll hold this flag up with pride. And for the record, I do have privilege, American privilege, because being an American is hands down the greatest privilege on the face of the earth. And I'm so proud of our rich American history. So proud, in fact, that when I was 18, I enlisted into the United States Air Force and served my country during wartime. Unfortunately, when I returned home, I returned to find my city of Paterson, New Jersey, literally became a war zone. How could this have happened? Politicians have allowed our community to be destroyed by drugs, violence, and bad education. Our permanent elected class, they don't care about us. I will not sit back and allow our community to be destroyed any longer. And if you love this place as much as I do, you're not going to sit back and allow it to happen either. So for that reason, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I'm running for Congress to fix this mess. I'm running to represent the New Jersey 9th Congressional District. I believe freedom is worth defending. And I firmly believe if we don't stand up to protect our country from the people who hate it, we will lose America forever. My opponent is Bill Pascrell. Pascrell has been representing Paterson for nearly 40 years in elected office. That's 9 years longer than I've been alive. So I've got one question for you. In 40 years, has Bill Pascrell made life better or worse? Follow me, I'll show you. The unemployment rate in Paterson is over 15%. That's almost 3 times the national average. The household income for a family in Paterson is nearly half of what it is for the rest of the country. 85% of American cities are safer than here. People gotta survive. Maybe that's why Paterson is such a dangerous place. 1 out of every 119 people in Paterson are victims of a violent crime. And 1 out of every 46 people are victims of burglary or theft. And in 2019, the number of homicides in Paterson skyrocketed by almost 60%. And who suffers the most from all this violence? Bill Pascrell doesn't care about black or brown lives. He himself is too afraid to walk streets like this. He hides in his basement just like Joe Biden, while our brothers and sisters are killed regularly on streets just like this one. When he's not hiding, he's in DC voting with Nancy Pelosi 97% of the time to destroy places like Paterson. He's working hard to defund our police, and he's pushing socialist and communist policies on our already struggling economy. I will not let Bill Pascrell destroy our community any longer, because 40 years of control in Paterson is long enough. It's time for term limits. Let's retire Bill Pascrell. Our district has been voting the exact same way for the past 40 years, and it is literally killing us. Do you know what it's called when you do the exact same thing over and over again? It's called insanity. It's time to stop voting for insanity, New Jersey. Bill Pascrell does not represent us. He represents an old, outdated ideology that has failed us. My name is Billy Prempeh, and I love America with all my heart and soul. And I love New Jersey just as much. And it's time that New Jersey and the 9th Congressional District gets a candidate that's willing to represent them. That person is me. And I'd like for you to follow me on this journey. Let's go.